All right, let's review what we've been talking about in terms of what Hinduism teaches concerning God. Now, it shouldn't surprise us that there is a diversity of belief concerning God or the gods within Hinduism. We've seen that at least philosophical Hinduism and the Hinduism, the upper classes, focuses on a worship of the Trimurti, the Hindu Trimurti, meaning the three forms, which would be Brahma, the creator, Vishnu, and then Shiva. Vishnu has at least 10 incarnations, and of course, all these incarnations, as well as Vishnu and Shiva, have wives and consorts, and so it becomes rather complicated just from that standpoint alone. And then we spent some time talking about the Great Mother, Devi, the goddess, and how the Great Mother, there's a tradition that goes back beyond Hinduism itself in India of worshiping the feminine divine. And there are different forms in which the Great Mother presents herself. Durga would be one, Kali would be another, but she is worshipped in shrines all over India. Now, what we didn't talk very much about was village Hinduism. It's only been in the last few years that we've begun to focus attention on Hinduism out in the villages. And that's actually 85% of the Hindu people in India. And the reason why village Hinduism was largely unknown in the West was because when the British came into India as the power there, as the colonial power, their association was primarily with the Hindus of the higher castes. And those higher caste Hindus focused on the Hinduism that's found in the sacred texts, the Vedas and the Upanishads. Whereas the lower caste Indians would tend to rely more on the epic poetry for their devotional sense and their sense of who God is. And so in the villages, there are lots of local gods. Some of these gods are traditional in terms of the family. Other gods are part of being a part of a caste or a subcaste. Others are local spirits, geographically local. And these spirits, whether they're good or evil or neutral, are not really adored or worshipped as much as they are feared. And so the various rites and ceremonies and superstitious practices that are a part of the religion in the villages are more about appeasing these various divine spirits. They're more about averting the wrath and keeping the spirits at bay from us. And so that's very different than the Hinduism that we see expressed by those who worship Ram or worship Krishna, avatars of Vishnu. Very, very different. But that is probably the Hinduism of the vast majority of the Indian people. So we see this in village Hinduism. So the question becomes then, how polytheistic is Hinduism? Well, in one way, it's very polytheistic. We said there's a passage in the Upanishads that talks about 330 million different gods. But underneath all those gods, at least according to the Upanishads, is the Brahman, the ultimate reality. So that all these various gods are representations of the one true ultimate reality. The problem is that that is the sensibility of the upper classes, and the lower classes are worshiping their understanding of God in a very different kind of way. Now, that's why we make these distinctions between academic religion, formal religion, and popular religion. Because the religion we read about in a textbook or we hear about in a classroom is probably more of the formal religion, whereas the way the religion is actually practiced out in the villages is more a popular kind of religion.